I never thought I'd end up scrubbing marble floors in a billionaire's mansion. But life doesn't always care about your dreams. It just hands you bills, a child to feed, and a choice between pride and survival. I chose survival. So when I got the cleaning job at Blackwood Estate, I took it. No questions asked. No hesitation. Just a mop, a schedule, and a promise to keep my head down. The one complication? My 4-year-old son. The light of my life. And the reason I couldn't take jobs that made me leave him behind. The agency knew my situation and arranged it. I could bring Liam to work as long as he stayed out of the way. No wandering. No noise. Simple. Until Nathan Blackwood walked into the room. It was my 3rd day on the job. I was wiping down the polished banister when I heard footsteps echoing down the hall. I turned, expecting another member of the staff. But it was him. Dressed in a crisp navy suit with silver cufflinks. He looked like someone who carried the world on his shoulders, and probably owned most of it. Nathan Blackwood. Billionaire. The kind of man you see in magazines but never expect to breathe the same air as. And yet there he was. And there was Liam, on the floor with his coloring book, humming to himself and completely unaware of how many zeros this man had in his bank account. Nathan stopped in his tracks. His eyes landed on Liam. And something changed. His expression softened. Like something in him paused. He crouched down slowly like he didn't want to startle him. "Hey there, buddy." Liam looked up, blinking his big gray eyes. "Hi. What's your name?" "Liam," he said confidently. "I'm helping my mom clean." Nathan smiled. "Is that so?" I stepped in quickly. "I'm sorry, sir. I always keep him close. He doesn't touch anything." Nathan waved a hand. "It's fine. He's a kid." But he didn't take his eyes off Liam. He studied him. Quietly. Like he was trying to figure something out. And then he said something that caught me off guard. "He looks like me when I was little." I laughed nervously. A lot of people say that about Liam. He's got one of those faces. Nathan chuckled, but it didn't feel casual. He looked at Liam again and there was this pull in his eyes. Like something deep in him recognized the boy. But that was impossible. Right? From that day forward, everything changed. Nathan started showing up more when we cleaned. He'd bring Liam cookies. Ask him about his drawings. Sit on the stairs and listen to him talk about dinosaurs and space. It wasn't weird. Not exactly. But it was unusual. And every time he looked at Liam, I felt this strange mix of fear and hope swirl in my chest. Because Liam did look like him. Too much. And part of me was terrified the truth would come out before I was ready. Because Nathan Blackwood wasn't just my boss. He was the man I met once years ago on a night that changed everything. The man who unknowingly gave me Liam. It started with the barista. Nathan had asked me to take Liam with me to grab coffee from the cafe near the office wing. Said the kid had earned it, after showing him his stick-figure spaceship drawing. We stood in line at the counter, Liam holding my hand, when the barista looked between him and me, then leaned over with a wide grin. "Wow," she said, handing over the croissant. "He looks just like your husband. Those eyes. It's the copy-paste for me." I froze. Liam looked up at me. "Mommy, what's copy-paste?" I forced a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart." "Thank you, ma'am." I left the cafe as fast as my dignity would allow. My heart pounded the whole way back to the estate. It wasn't the last time it happened. The neighbor. The driver. Even a client who saw Liam's photo on Nathan's desk. He had been proudly showing off the little helper, who came to visit during work hours. "He your boy?" the client had asked casually. Nathan hesitated. So, my cleaner's kid." The client nodded slowly. "Funny. He's got your face." That one lingered with him. I could tell. He brought it up that night after dinner when I was packing Liam's things. "People keep saying he looks like me," Nathan said casually, leaning on the doorframe. I glanced at him. "It's probably the cheekbones." He laughed. "It's not just that. He even furrows his brow the same way I do when he's annoyed." I looked away. Kids pick up all sorts of habits. But he didn't seem convinced. Then came the allergies. Liam had a mild reaction after trying shrimp at the staff party Nathan insisted we both attend. It wasn't serious but enough to give me a scare. While I soothed Liam with medicine and water, Nathan stood frozen, watching with wide eyes. "I'm allergic to shrimp," he said slowly. "Same thing happens to me, rash, light wheezing, red eyes." I nodded. It must be more common than we think. But I knew it wasn't. Liam had the same food sensitivities. Peanuts. Shellfish. Even certain laundry soaps. The same ones Nathan had listed casually during a household inventory the first week I started working. He was starting to put the pieces together. And I was running out of ways to scatter them. One night after Liam was asleep, Nathan brought out an old photo album. We sat at the kitchen island flipping through childhood pictures. And then he pointed to one. A 6-year-old Nathan with curly hair and big gray eyes. Look familiar? My throat tightened. You were a cute kid. I looked exactly like Liam. I stayed silent. He closed the book gently. There's something about you, Ava, that I can't place. Like I've known you before. I looked down. Maybe in another life. But we both knew we weren't talking about past lives. We were talking about a night neither of us had fully forgotten. And a little boy who carried pieces of both of us. It was a Tuesday. Cloudy skies. Quiet morning. Nothing unusual until Liam fell. It wasn't a dramatic fall. Just a stumble in the hallway while pretending to be a superhero. But he hit his head against the edge of the banister, and when I saw the blood, my heart stopped. Nathan was on a call when I burst into his office, clutching Liam to my chest, trying not to panic. I need to take him to the hospital, I said breathlessly. Nathan stood immediately. I'm driving. We sped to the emergency room in silence. Liam groggy but awake in my arms, a small bandage pressed to his forehead. At the hospital they ushered us into a room quickly. The nurse asked the usual questions. Any history of allergies? Yes, I said. Shellfish, peanuts, penicillin. Nathan added without thinking, same as me. I looked at him. He looked at me. The nurse scribbled it down then moved on. And blood type? I hesitated. I think it's AB negative, I said unsure. The nurse blinked. That's rare. Very rare. We'll confirm it. Nathan tilted his head. That's my blood type too. I stared at him. He stared back. Something shifted between us. The doctor confirmed it later. AB negative. The same as Nathan. Nathan didn't say anything as we drove home. He didn't need to. His silence was louder than any words. Later that night I found him in the study, lights low, fingers tapping the edge of an old folder. He didn't look at me when he spoke. You were at that beach resort 5 years ago, weren't you? My stomach flipped. You were the waitress I met at the bar. He turned to me, eyes searching. I always wondered why you felt familiar. Why Liam felt like mine. I swallowed hard. I tried to find you, Nathan. After that weekend. You disappeared. I left to protect myself, he said, voice tight. I didn't know I left you. Silence. Then, why didn't you tell me when you started working here? Because I didn't know if you'd want him. His eyes snapped to mine. Don't ever think that. He stood slowly, walked toward the door, then paused beside me. Do you have any idea what it's like, he whispered, to realize you've been looking your own child in the eyes, and didn't even know it? A tear slid down my cheek. I do, I said quietly. Because I've been doing it to you for months. Nathan didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't storm off. He just disappeared into the quiet wing of the house and shut the door behind him. That somehow hurt worse. I spent the evening curled up beside Liam, watching him sleep, tracing the curve of his lashes, the familiar dip in his chin, Nathan's chin. He looked so much like him. How did I ever think I could hide this? The next morning Nathan was already up. Dressed. Focused. The CO mask back in place. But something in his eyes had changed. Less steel, more storm. I need time, he said simply. Time to think. To process. I understand. I want to be in his life, Ava. Don't mistake my silence for indifference. I never thought you were indifferent, I said. Just scared. He nodded slowly. Maybe I am. Then he left. Just like that. Not forever. But enough to make my heart squeeze with uncertainty. The house was quieter without him. Liam asked where Mr. Nathan went. I told him he had meetings. That he'd be back soon. And each time I said it, I hoped I wasn't lying. Days passed. Then on a Friday morning he came home. But this time he wasn't alone. He walked through the front door carrying a small box, and a new kind of stillness in his expression. The kind people carry when they've made a decision. Can we talk? He asked. I nodded and followed him to the sunroom. He opened the box and pulled out a small photo. A baby scan. My assistant found it. I'd shoved it in a drawer 5 years ago. From the doctor's office you mentioned, right before I left the coast. He handed it to me. On the back, written in my handwriting, were the words, "He was real. Even if you never know." "I found it last night," he said, voice low. "I remembered everything. Your laugh. That weekend. The way you looked when you said goodbye without saying it." Tears pricked my eyes. "I never forgot either," I whispered. He stepped closer. "I've been a lot of things in my life, Ava. Driven, pulled, distant. But not a father. Not until now. And I don't want to miss another day." My breath caught. He reached into the box again and pulled out a small ring. "It's not a proposal," he said gently. "Not yet. It's a promise. That I'll be here. That I'll learn. That I'll try. Every single day." He placed the ring in my hand. "For Liam. For you. For us." I didn't need time to think. I wrapped my arms around him the way I'd been longing to for years and whispered, "Welcome home." Nathan didn't try to jump into fatherhood like a hero. He didn't pretend to know everything or swoop in with expensive gifts to win Liam over. He started small, steady, like the night he asked to read Liam his bedtime story. I stood by the door and watched as Liam curled up beside him, pointing to each picture, asking questions Nathan tried his best to answer, even if he called a brontosaurus a green giraffe with an attitude. They both laughed. It was awkward and adorable and perfect. That night, Liam hugged him tight around the neck. "Good night, Mr. Nathan." Nathan hesitated, then said softly, "You can just call me Nathan. Or something else. If you want." Liam tilted his head. "Like what?" Nathan swallowed. "Maybe, Dad." Liam was quiet for a second, then grinned. "Okay, Dad." And just like that, everything changed. In the days that followed, Nathan rearranged his entire schedule. He turned down 2 out-of-state deals. He set up an office in the sunroom just to be closer during the day. He asked me how I used to cut Liam's toast, how many drops of honey he liked in his tea, what lullaby made him fall asleep fastest. I didn't even know he knew how to ask those questions. And slowly the walls between us, built from guilt, time, and unspoken history, began to crumble. One rainy afternoon we all sat on the living room floor building a Lego tower. Liam was humming to himself, stacking bricks with focus, while Nathan passed him the right pieces. I leaned back and smiled, watching them, my heart full and aching all at once. Nathan looked over and caught my gaze. He didn't look away this time. He just held it, and said like he'd known it all along, "This is what I've been missing." Later that night, after Liam was tucked in and the house was quiet, Nathan and I stood on the balcony listening to the rain. "I've made a lot of money," he said. "Built a company from nothing. Traveled the world." He paused. "But this, you and him, this is the only thing I've ever built that matters." Tears filled my eyes. "You didn't just find a son," I whispered. "You found yourself." He nodded. "And I found my way back to you." By the time Nathan proposed, I already knew it was coming. Not because of a ring or a hint or some over-the-top gesture, but because I'd watched him become a father. I watched him change, soften, and show up every single day. And love, real love, isn't loud. It's consistent. It was a Sunday morning. Liam was at his grandparents' house for the weekend. Nathan had insisted they deserved to know their grandson, and surprisingly they agreed. The house was quiet. I came downstairs to find a trail of paper hearts leading into the backyard. At first I thought Liam had made them, but the handwriting on each heart was Nathan's. On each one a memory. "First time I saw you, wearing that ridiculous hairnet at the resort snack bar." I still think about that laugh. The day Liam said, "Dad," I thought my heart would explode. The hospital when I knew, not just that he was mine but that you were too. By the time I reached the last heart, my vision was blurred with tears. Then Nathan stepped out from behind the garden arch, holding a single white lily, my favorite flower. He wasn't in a suit, just jeans and a gray sweater, like he had nothing to prove. "I used to think I needed power," he said. "A legacy. A name people feared or respected." He walked toward me slowly. "But what I needed was you. And him. A family. A future." He got down on one knee. "I'm not promising perfection. I'm promising presence. Every day. For you. For Liam. For whatever comes next. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, beautiful ring. A diamond with 2 smaller stones. One for each of them, he said later. Ava Jameson, will you marry me? I nodded through a flood of tears. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Later we danced barefoot on the grass. No music. Just the wind and the heartbeat I could feel in my chest. Nathan held me close. I'm still scared, he whispered. So am I said. But I'm ready. We didn't need fireworks. Just this. Just us. We didn't want a big wedding. No designer dresses. No choreographed dances. No media headlines screaming billionaire marries housekeeper turned true love. We just wanted real. We chose the garden behind the house, the same one where he proposed. Spring flowers in bloom. Lanterns hanging from trees. A soft breeze that smelled like new beginnings. Liam walked me down the aisle, tiny hands gripping mine like he understood how big this moment was. He had insisted on wearing a matching suit with Nathan, right down to the little silver cufflinks. You look like a prince, I whispered. He grinned. That's because I'm your happily ever after. Nathan stood waiting under the arch, his eyes fixed on me like I was the only person on earth. He didn't cry. But I did. Not because I was overwhelmed. Not even because I was afraid. But because, for the first time in years, I felt safe. Chosen. Our vows weren't written by a wedding planner or borrowed from the internet. They were ours. I fell in love with you once and didn't even know your name, Nathan said. Now I know every scar, every strength, every piece of your heart, and I love you more. I survived because of Liam, I told him. But I started living the moment I let you back in. We kissed to the sound of wind through trees and Liam clapping like he was watching his favorite cartoon ending. It was perfect. Later that night, while the guests toasted and danced and the string lights flickered, Nathan pulled me aside. You know what my favorite part of today is? He asked. What? He slipped an arm around my waist. That you didn't just take my last name, you gave Liam mine. I blinked. You noticed. I noticed everything. He leaned down and kissed me, slow and deep and certain. We're the Blackwoods now. All 3 of us. And that's how the girl who once mopped floors in silence became the woman with a husband who worshipped her, a son who saved her, and a life she never thought she was allowed to dream. Not a fairy tale. Better. Because this was real. This was home. The end.